Despite his impeachment, President Trump will remain in office until the end of his term. So what is the next step in this process? The articles of impeachment will be sent to the U.S. Senate for trial. Senators act as the jury, while a selection of House members called managers serve as prosecutors. Then a final vote will be held to either convict or acquit. If convicted, it opens the door to prevent President Trump from running for any public office in the future. The Senate is not scheduled to resume until January 19th, the day before the inauguration. Today, Senate Majority Leader, the Republican Mitch McConnell from Kentucky, said he will not call an emergency session, pushing the trial until after President-elect Biden takes office. Senator McConnell also wrote a note to Republican colleagues saying he remains undecided on whether he will vote to convict the president.